I see some of our candidates. Rep Price is on twice, I think. We got you twice, Laley. Dell, Taylor, Carla Coffey Wright. I see you're here. Mavis Thompson. Jake, I see you're here. Thank you. Newton, of course. So we got another minute. I'm sure a lot more people will be signing on as the minutes go by. So we'll give it a minute.
We are live on YouTube and Facebook. So
should I do something to my hair? Now, who's sitting outside with the beautiful bird sounds?
Newton.
Oh, there you go.
Ann, it's Mavis. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Mavis?
Yeah, I am at home recovering from a broken ankle.
Oh, no.
And so I'm not in my normal setup. And I just want to apologize for that. But you guys can hear me okay?
Yes.
Fine. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry to hear about your ankle.
Oh, and I'll tell you,
so
along with the outside and the birds come the bugs. So it's a mixed bag. And I'll tell you,
And there's an echo too. So I think you're in the Grand Canyon. I'm just going to give another minute or two. I'm sure more folks will be signing in. Unfortunately, been a while since we met. It was really a shame and we felt terrible canceling our last meeting at the very last minute, but we, realized that we had invited a lot of people who were coming from other places and it wasn't safe to travel. I'm echoing. And we just, our first priority is to keep everyone safe. And so I really apologize for that last minute cancellation. And I know that some people did show up at the Moonrise and I felt terrible about that. We could, did the best we could, but it was a little too late. Oh, Mr. Butler.
Hey, Ann, how are
All right, I am unmuted. The first thing I'd like to do is invite everyone to sign in, and I'll do that a couple of times through the course of the meeting. I know right now it's wonderful to see we've got a bunch of candidates already here. I'm sure more of our members will be signing in the next moment or two, but it's important for us for our endorsement election coming up that we have, good attendance records. And so please do sign in. I need to sign in. Hold on a second. Send chat to everyone. Why isn't everyone coming up? So welcome everyone. My name is Ann Kitloss and I am the president of the 28th Ward Regular Democratic Club. This is our monthly meeting for May, which is now in June. Because of the bad weather we had last month, unfortunately we had to cancel, but we always, for candidate evenings, actually doing Zoom is a great way to get as many people as possible to be able to participate, because we know that candidates are in high demand. They want to meet voters all over the city and the region if they've got larger bases of regions where they're running. And so in order to allow candidates to see us and allow them to get to see other voters, Zoom is really a great solution. And I'm really grateful for everyone being here. In addition to myself, we are joined tonight by our new alderman, Mike Graz, and our committee woman, Gail Farwell, our treasurer, Christina Bennett, whose birthday it is today, won't be able to join us tonight. It's her birthday and she has another commitment. We do have news that we will be, Christina is going to be cycling off of the board. She is the deputy treasurer of the city right now and is handling a lot more money than is necessary to handle with 28th Ward dues and is really running out of time to handle as many obligations as she's got. So we are going to be welcoming Bridget Sims, who is on this meeting somewhere, to take over in the treasurer's role. Hey, Bridget, thank you for your willingness to help us out. It's really wonderful. We appreciate it.
I'm excited to be here.
That transition is taking place. So, and that'll help us through, you know, the end of the 28th Ward. And also our secretary, Deborah Lovelace, is a little bit late, but she will be on this evening. Like I said, as everyone signs in, please, everyone joins, please sign in so we can take good attendance. Just put your name in the chat. Don't rely on us to see your little face in the box because the boxes, as you can tell, just keep moving around. We do a couple of announcements. We do have, because Mike, who was our vice president and our committee man, is now our alderman, and we're really excited about that. We do have an opening for 28th Ward committee man. If anyone is interested in information on that role or would like to be considered for that role, please get in touch with Gail Farwell, our committee woman. She will be moving a candidate along in that process. And also, if there's anyone who'd like to play a role in our leadership team, we have a lot of fun. We get to bounce a lot of ideas off of each other. We get to talk in little boxes and sometimes in person. And we'd love to have your participation. So if you'd like to play a role in some policy work, issues or voter outreach, voter registration, we would love your help. So the point of this meeting is to meet some of our candidates. We've got an election on August 2nd. And boy, with the news day by day, just grinding us down, it just shows how important it is to have the right people in office. And I'm really grateful for all the people who are running for office because it's a big commitment, a commitment to public service and a commitment to leadership in the community. And I'm really grateful for everyone who makes the decision to put themselves out there and run and share their ideas and be willing to take some of the heat that comes with putting yourself out there. We will be having an endorsement election next week. And that'll be on Tuesday. Is that Tuesday? Yeah. This coming Tuesday at the Moonrise. And according to our bylaws, you have to have paid your dues, be a dues paying member, and you have to have attended 2 meetings in the last 12 months. And we've kept careful records of that. And we've been communicating to people directly about their voting status. If you have any questions about that, if you haven't received communication and you think that you should be eligible, please get in touch with me or Mike or Deborah or any of the officers, and we can sort that out before Tuesday. We will be, of course, taking attendance at this meeting because that's an important step for many, many people still need another meeting in order to qualify. There's no electioneering at that meeting. There's no agenda to that election on Tuesday. It's just from 6 to 7 p.m. Be there, be square. That's where you vote. That's according to our bylaws, which are very strict on that. And we will be in the back of the room where we generally meet at the Moonrise with the ballots and counting the ballots at 7 o'clock and going through the process that's laid out in our bylaws. The rest of that space will be open for cocktails and dinner, and the bar space will be open. So if you're a candidate and you want to talk to people, please do it out in the bar area or outside. But we welcome anybody to come and hang out, and it'll be it's always a fun evening, a little stressful for, in general, just like any election, but it's a fun evening. So we'll just try to keep the voting at one end of the room, and then please carry on in the other. And we always want to support the Moonrise. We've canceled on them at the last minute last month, and they're always very generous with their time and their service for us. Tonight, as advertised, we've got a bunch of candidates joining us, and I'm really grateful for that. If you are a candidate or a representative, I see a couple of representatives for candidates. Please reach out to Mike Gross or me through the chat, just so I have a list here and I'm checking off who I'm seeing. I want to make sure that we reach everybody, because we do have a lot of people. We're going to give everybody about 3 minutes and to share your message, and then we'll open it up for just a couple of questions. We really won't have time for a lot of questions. And I go generally just in order from federal, state, local office. And so I know that some candidates will come and go, and I'll try to keep track of that. And so if somebody joins us late and has missed their spot and I see them show up later, I will invite them to speak at the next opportunity, because this isn't a contest in this space. This is an opportunity to get your messages out and to get some questions answered. And so if somebody's late, they will be allowed to speak. Before we get going, Mike, did you have any messages you wanted to share?
I don't want to take a lot of time, because I know we have a lot of candidates that probably have other events to go to and jump on, but I just kind of wanted to thank everybody. Well, here know, I guess, first of all, that I'm not indicted. And I'm not, just basically that everything's still going to move forward with the government. Don't be concerned on that note. I am getting my feet under me with this alderman thing, and I think I'm having some pretty early success getting some things done around the ward. So please, if there's anything in particular that you need, reach out. Let me know. Everybody should have my cell phone already. Please do. I think that I've been impressed so far. I think, like I said last time, with how the city's running. So, please don't hesitate to put things on my radar and let me know what you need. I'm going to turn it over. And like I said, we know we have a lot of candidates that are anxious to speak. So hopefully I'll have a chance to talk maybe later, or if not, please reach out.
Thanks, Mike. All right, so let's get started. The top of the ballot will be our U.S. Senate race, which is an open seat. We're very excited about the possibilities there. I have seen three candidates represented here this evening, and I'm just going to go by how the list appears on the Secretary of State's website. So just to try to keep it as fair as possible. The first candidate that I've seen here is Carla Coffey Wright. So Carla, if you'd like to take a few minutes, introduce yourself. And if I miss anyone, please give me a little bit of grace, because obviously there are a lot of little screens going on. So if I've skipped over someone, please just send me a note and we'll get back to you and allow you your time. Ms. Wright?
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Coffey Wright, Carla Coffey Wright. I'm a candidate for United States Senate. I ran in 2018, came in third place overall of 23 candidates, second place on the Democrat ballot. And I'm running again now on the Democrat ballot, of course. And I'm running in this race because I believe, for one, in proportionate political representation. I don't think we have enough diversity in the Senate. And I think that's another problem that we're dealing with. So I believe that I'm the candidate for this. I believe I should be sitting in the chair. I don't think we should just have millionaires and billionaires in Senate, but I think we need to let regular, everyday working people and business people take this seat to speak for the people who have experienced what the working and poor people are going through, not people who read about it or was raised in a rural area, people who have experienced the problems and issues that we have in St. Louis, especially Kansas City, and the rural areas as well, because we have to look out for everyone, but we do not have any Black females in office. And I think it's time that if America wants to heal, we need to address this issue so we can move forward. I've always been fighting for healthcare for all. I'm always fighting for the student loan debt to be canceled. I'm definitely fighting for social justice, our voting rights. That's very important, family. We have to maintain and expand our voting rights. So these are issues that I'm concerned about. And of course, Roe versus Wade. We cannot allow that to be flipped. We have to deal with that, family. We cannot lose that. So I'm fighting. I'm here. Again, my name is Coffee Wright. I'm number 3 on the ballot. And I don't know how much more time I have, but if I can go on, then I will go on, because fentanyl, this mental health care, family, that's a serious issue. We have overdoses every day, family. 14 people right here in St. Louis a day, and 4 of them don't make it. So that is a major crisis. And not just in St. Louis again, but in Kansas City as well, and in the rural areas. So we have a lot that we have to deal with. I have a team of people, grassroots organizations. I know them all the ones that are actually productive. And so I have the best of the best on grassroots level. And it's a diverse, totally diverse team. We've been all out here fighting together for decades, family. We've been fighting for decades. This ain't something that we just did a year ago, 2 years ago, and say, hey, how about jumping in a Senate race? I was in a race 4 years ago, was fighting every day before then, decades and decades. And please, family, don't get it twisted. Don't say, well, she looked kind of young to be a Senate. We're not going to talk about, we don't care about how many initials people have behind their name. I have a college degree as well, but it's not about that, family. It's about regular everyday people. We don't need a bunch of more attorneys. We don't need all that. We need regular people who been out there fighting, and that's me. So that's why I'm in the race, family. But again, my time up.
Your time is up.
Oh, but thank you for allowing me to speak, family.
No, I'm really grateful that I'm grateful that you joined us. Do we have 1 or 2 questions for candidate Wright? And feel free to I think it's easier to use the reactions on the screen, but if you want to wave or something like that. I'm personally interested in what you would suggest for keeping us safe from gun violence.
Absolutely. With gun violence, I think we definitely need to reform. I mean, without a doubt, it has to be reformed. We can't have 18-year-olds going to purchase guns. First of all, they're not even old enough to buy liquor. So how should they be old enough to go purchase a gun, especially assault weapons? That's ridiculous. So we need to up the age without a doubt. We need to do more extensive background checks, and we need to do some mental health checks on people, and then have a waiting period. I mean, you get mad at your mom today and now you want to kill her. That's what it's really leading up to. Have some time to think about it. Go vent, give them a week. Right. You shouldn't be able to just go in there and purchase a gun, because when you're angry and upset, it's once you pull the trigger, the bullet don't have a name. And so oops don't count once you pull that trigger.
All right.
So,
we have Dan Shesh has his hand up. Dan, Mike, can you unmute Dan?
Okay. Carla, what can you tell us about your background, your career history, that lets us know that you'd be able to handle the highly complex aspects of being a legislator for a nation of 330 million people? Can't just talk a good game.
Okay, thank you for asking that question. I'm a great grandmother, okay? So I have real life experience. I was born in Missouri, raised in Missouri, was educated in Missouri. My grandmother, my mother, my children, my grandchildren, my great grandbaby, born right here in Missouri. I have real life experience. I know what it looked like to have to see a red gas bill. I know everything that we're fighting for, including plenty of people who've had abortions, just everything. I lived that life, okay? And so therefore, I bring all that to the table. I don't turn down. You don't have to be, I'm not an attorney and you don't have to be an attorney. I think that's one of the problems, too much shenanigans, you know? So therefore, I'm qualified, I'm on the ballot. We're all qualified, apparently we're on the ballot. And so it's who have been out here putting in the work. I can't compare bank accounts. I'm tired of that big bank take little bank. We have to stop letting the rich people rule it. And that's what it keeps boiling down to. It keeps boiling down to who has the most money. That's who people support. You should support who's been out here putting in the work. And I'm sure 7 out of 10 people you ask about coffee, they're going to tell you coffee been out here for decades for everybody. I'm the voice for white people, Black people, Chinese people, it doesn't matter. I'm the voice for them and they'll tell you because that's who I am. You got to worry about what I bring to the table is I'm not a sellout, okay? Money don't buy me. Never have, never will.
Okay.
Don't get.
I'm going to have to move on. I really appreciate it. And I think that that those perspectives of life are really valuable, balancing with lots of other people's experience too. We need it all. Our next candidate on that Senate race is Spencer Toder. Mike, can you unmute him, please? Looks like our candidates are all driving from event to event.
Yes, and I apologize. I don't have too long, so I will be as brief as I can, which is not my specialty. I'm not in the same car as Carla. Promise, we're not sitting next to each other. So I'm also St. Louis and born and raised. I actually lived in U City for 15 years. And one of the things that's most frustrating is that the vast majority of progressive people that I knew and grew up with left here. They left for more progressive cities and places that they were more included, that respected their identities, whether they be Black, gay, queer, Asian American, regardless of their identity, they wanted to get out of St. Louis. And one of the main reasons is a lack of education for people in different communities. One of the reasons is a lack of healthcare access. One of the reasons is, I'm sorry, people are texting me as I'm trying to have this conversation with you. It's hard to do from a phone. And ultimately, I think that people just want their lives to be a little bit easier, and the government seems to make it harder and harder. And my background is in business. I graduated from WashU with an undergrad and an MBA and ended up falling into a career in real estate. I've been running a home renovation business for about the last 8 years, where we buy, rehab, and sell 3 to 5 houses a year. I've rehabbed about 15 different places in U City in the last 5-6 years. Love the area, lived there for a good portion of my life. And I also run a medical device company. So I've partnered with a doctor from BJC. We raised $500,000 and have a device that fills a hole in an infant's heart. And so we're currently working with Cleveland Clinic, and we'll be in animal testing starting in late August for that device. So my background is fairly varied. I've worked with union laborers and I've worked with scientists and doctors, but across the board, I see the same thing no matter where I go. And it's that people are looking for a hand up, not a handout, and that the government isn't giving it to them. So I've made my campaign primarily one based on action. The first action that we took was when we heard that Afghan refugees were coming to St. Louis and that they were being provided $900 and told that at the end of 3 months they had to pay their plane ticket back. We helped raise $50,000 with an Army captain and donated to the International Institute. We turned around 2 weeks later and we held a rally for Kevin Strickland, who was the falsely incarcerated man who spent 43 years behind bars in Kansas City. And when he was released, he called us to thank us. But it was one of the most important things to me that I've done in my life in advocating for someone who deserved to be freed and helping him in any way I could. We've continued with a highly technologically advanced campaign. So we're able to target and help people in very specific ways. So we've helped over 600 people access the child tax credit that didn't know they qualified because they don't make $12,000 and didn't file taxes. We've helped over 4,000 people get discounted internet because their families make under $57,000 a year and they qualify through the Internet Connectivity Act. And most recently, we've helped over 10,000 people sign up for Medicaid because when we passed Medicaid expansion, 275,000 people were set to qualify, but the Republican supermajority tried to make sure they couldn't get it, and in the end never told people they qualified. So through my website and through our outreach, both texting, phone banking, Facebook ads, and email, we've helped over 10,000 people now get access to Medicaid.
Timer's going off.
All right, thank you.
Hold on, now I need to figure out how to turn it off. Thank you for that. Questions for Mr. Toder? I'm still trying to fight with my phone. Tell me what you would do to protect a woman's right to choose.
So first of all, I'm incredibly pro-choice, and I always have been. I've never varied in that opinion and belief. And so, what the only thing we can do at this point is to flip this Senate seat, which is why it's so important, so we can abolish the filibuster and codify Roe. That is the best option that we have, and we know that there are trigger laws in Missouri that are going to make it the first state to flip and to make it impossible for a woman to get an abortion, a person with a uterus to get an abortion. And on top of that, we know that they're coming after contraception, they're coming after gay rights, and they're going to use the same laws to invade our privacy. So I'm firmly in the belief that we need to codify Roe into law and to codify our right to privacy.
Is there another question for Mr. Toder? All right, thank you. Appreciate you joining us this evening.
Thank you. If anyone has questions if anyone has any questions in the future, I'll put my email in the chat. I'll respond to all of the emails. You can get me on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere else.
I was just going to say that if candidates, please put your email addresses or whatever contact information you want to share. Please put it in the chat so people can get that information. Also, as a reminder to our members, please sign in. We are trying to do our best to get some really good attendance. So sign in to the group, not just to me or any one person. I'm trying to take some notes, but it's helpful for our attendance takers to see the names. Our next candidate is on behalf of Lucas Kuntz. We have Jake Sturgis speaking. So Mike, can you unmute Jacob, please?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Third candidate in your car. This is like one of those late night shows.
I know I literally showed up to the moonrise and didn't realize it was on Zoom today. So I'm in a nearby neighborhood. It's very nice. So anyway, I am here to represent Mr. Lucas Kuntz for U.S. Senate. I hope you've heard of him by now. I want to tell you a little bit about him, a little bit about why I joined the campaign and why I think we should, we'd like your vote. So Lucas grew up poor. He grew up in Cole County in one of the poorer neighborhoods of Jefferson City. He experienced hardship growing up. His little sister was born with a heart condition, and he had to watch his family struggle for years and go bankrupt while his sister was getting airlifted to hospitals here in St. Louis. But fortunately for him, he had an incredible community around him that rallied around him. They passed the plate at church. They helped take care of him. And to pay that back, he went to the Marines to serve. So he spent 13 years as an active duty Marine. And in his last tour of duty, after 2 tours in Afghanistan and 1 in Iraq, he also served at the Pentagon, joined the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or I might have the terminology wrong on that. But he led arms control negotiations between NATO and Russia, which is particularly pertinent to many recent events over in Europe. And after that, he defended active duty service members from corporate predation. He led a lawsuit against 3M for defective earplugs that they sent, and he actually suffers from tinnitus, hearing loss from those defective earplugs. He's also joined the American Economic Liberties Project, which works on anti-monopoly advocacy. What he's seen in between tours of duty, going back to his neighborhood in Jeff City, is his original home has been completely knocked down. It's a vacant lot. His home that he left for the Marines from is boarded up. It's got graffiti all over it. And what he saw between those tours of duty is that while he thought he was serving his country and trying to pay back his community was getting robbed bare by politicians and corrupt elites that were taking the money out of the community, offshoring jobs, good union jobs, and perpetrating massive corruption. So he came back to Missouri after his last tour of duty. He's living in Independence these days, and he's here to serve some more. And he's built a really impressive machine. I'm working for the campaign because I also have experienced, what it means to experience healthcare problems in America. My fiance got injured on the job in 2017, and I pretty much lost everything over the next couple of years because we had to go through the nightmare of not having insurance in this country. So I joined the campaign because I know Lucas is going to be a reliable vote for universal health care, for decarbonization, for tackling climate change, and for fighting the corrupt corporate monopolies that dominate our whole country and that buy off our politicians. To that end, we've raised $3.5 million. It's more than any candidate in the race can say. We brought the polls to a dead heat against Eric Greitens, who is our likely competitor in the general.
Timer's up.
Is that time?
That's time.
All right, I'll let it be.
Thank you. Questions for Lucas Kuntz's campaign? I was interested that you brought up the environment. And can you talk a little bit more about what he might suggest we do to tackle climate change, or just some of the effects that we see?
Yeah, I'd be delighted. So if you go back and read some of his previous writing, he's got a piece for the American Prospect in 2021 called Decarbonization from a National Security Perspective. And it reads like a prophecy of the war in Ukraine. Because what you see in Europe is that German purchases of Russian natural gas, fossil fuels, fueled Putin's war machine. They provided the funds for Putin to invade Ukraine. It was a short-sighted decision for Germany not to decarbonize, for them to bring down their nuclear energy, especially after 2014 and Russia's invasion of Crimea. So Lucas very much can see it from a national security perspective, but additionally, he's got a plan called the Marshall Plan for the Midwest. What that means to him is bringing back manufacturing jobs to build the next generation of energy in America. So for instance, in Missouri, we've got some of the highest production of wind energy in the whole country. It's Missouri, Illinois, and Iowa are right at the top three. So bringing those good manufacturing jobs to America, right here in the Midwest, where we've got strong union presence, and we've got a lot of people that need good jobs. That is a big part of the vision of building a future, a green energy. And also, the biggest thing is we've got to win the Senate seat. The entire fate of the environment, the global environment, hinges on 2 votes in the Senate right now. Climate change has to happen, or climate legislation has to happen. And to do that, we have to win. And I think our campaign is the best position to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. I think from my notes that's those are the candidates we have who are running for the Senate seat. If I am wrong about that, wave wildly, or if anyone sees another candidate pop on during the course of the evening, please let me know so we can give people a chance to speak. So we'll move on now to the U.S. House race. See, now I'm co-hosting here. I don't see Alan Green running for state auditor, so we're moving to the U.S. House seat. Some challengers to our incumbent, Representative Cori Bush, and the second name on the ballot, the first one here in our meeting, is Mr. Michael Daniels. I am gonna click to ask you to unmute. See if you can. There you go. Welcome. And I'm putting my 3-minute timer on. Go for it.
Okay, I'll talk fast. My name is Mike Daniels. I live in the Schuylkill to Bolivar neighborhood for the last 30 years. I went to Boston College, University of San Diego School of Law. When I came to St. Louis 30 years ago, I worked for Freeman Bosley, the mayor, where I did legislation long before other folks were up there doing that kind of work. But I worked for the mayor as his legislative lobbyist. I served on the executive board of the RCGA, representing the city of St. Louis and the mayor. And I also served on the executive board of the East-West Gateway Coordinating Council, which, as you know, does all of the transportation planning. So I was involved with Buzz Westfall and the mayor and Buzz's staff when we were doing the 1/2 cent, 1 cent taxes, helping to work and plan the transportation that was in the first phases of the Metrolink. And that's the kind of experience that I can bring as both legislative and also actual experience in an administrative capacity to this job. But what I wanted to tell you is what I believe in. And what I believe in is we need someone to go to Congress that is going to defend our democracy and our rights. We need someone who's going to Congress, and I believe this, who's going to work to make a difference and not to make a point. Tonight, because we are short on time, I'm going to offer three things. The first thing is I put out a press release where we have an economic expansion and jobs announcement, where I intend, if elected to Congress, is to hold an economic expansion and jobs summit, where I'm going to bring together all the elected officials and labor, trade, and community activists and community representatives, as well as small business and corporations, to have a discussion to see where we can find the voids that need to be filled in terms of economic development, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of jobs, where we can also bring together these folks to see if they could share not only their ideas, but share what it is they're doing so we can get some kind of a general census of what direction St. Louis is going, so that we could try to go with some kind of a unified effort with all of the money that we have available. And I think that's very important. The second thing is that, of course, I'm against defunding the police. And while it may not be a congressman's specific job, I think that the congressman can take a lead in it, especially in this community, where for years, we seem not to be able to have police and elected officials sit down in the same room and try to work towards some common goals. So one of the things that I want to do is I not only support them, but I believe that we have to bring in the kinds of programs that have worked in other communities, where we bring in trained policemen who are going to be assigned to an area for 5 years, develop a relationship with the neighbors in the neighborhood, and we're also work with gang members and other incarcerated folks to try to gain the trust and work with the people. So I guess the third thing I want to do, I guess my time's almost up. The third thing is service. I met a vet the other day. She said, I tried to call the local office. I couldn't get any help. I called Washington. They said they'd get back. And the only way they got back is they sent me a fundraising campaign, text and email.
Okay, we're
Use
gonna,
of service.
thank you very much. Mike, do we have questions for Mr. Daniels? If there isn't a question, why don't you just finish that last point about service?
Oh, yeah, thanks. Service is quite important. We have to establish day one, qualities, constituent service, not only for businesses, but for individuals. I'm with a vet the other day who said, I called, I'm trying to get help. I couldn't get help. All I got was a response, was a letter for fundraising. And she was with a group of 5, and these are Black veterans. And she said to me, she says, well, I guess our congressman thinks that Black lives matter, but Black vets' lives don't matter. And that's just one good example, but I think service is so important as part of being a congressman. And so what I want to do is kind of take a little bit of the chaos out of this situation, try to reestablish the office and what it is supposed to do, and work with the constituents and all 750,000 of them in the congressional district to make things work for them and to give them the kind of representation they not only deserve, but is expected of them when someone goes to Washington.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Our next speaker will be Morgan Lowe, speaking on behalf of Congresswoman Cori Bush. Mike, are you able to unmute, or do you need me to do that?
I think I'm on
There you go. Look at you. All right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Morgan. I'm the Congresswoman's political director. Like so many others on this call, the Congresswoman was born and raised in St. Louis. She's also a nurse, a mother, a pastor, and an activist. She has witnessed and experienced firsthand the daily struggles and hardships that everyday people face in this district. And from day one, she has worked to bring the experiences of working class everyday people to the chambers of Congress. In her first week in office, immediately following the January 6th insurrection, Congresswoman Bush introduced a resolution to expel members of Congress who sought to overturn the election and incite a violent white supremacist attack on the US Capitol. And when she was first elected, she made a promise to do the most for everyone in the first district, starting with those who have the very least. And in her first term, she's worked incredibly hard to do just that. The Congresswoman has passed 25 pieces of legislation, secured $700 million in COVID-19 relief infrastructure and childcare funding directly to St. Louis, and delivered $9 million in new funding for St. Louis community projects, including investments in hospitals and affordable housing. These numbers include 4.6 million for St. Louis County's pandemic response, 33.2 million in transportation funding, and 4.1 million for the Bi-State Development Agency, which will be used to purchase a new fleet of electric buses, improving air quality and the reliability of public transit across St. Louis. She expanded the eviction moratorium to keep 11 million people housed during a deadly pandemic and allow states more time to disperse pandemic relief funds, including the largest amount of relief distribution up until that point in the pandemic. She's a proud supporter of the Green New Deal, environmental justice, criminal legal reform, and voting rights. And in the face of Roe versus Wade falling, she's been one of the most vocal advocates in Congress, working to protect Roe versus Wade and organizing her colleagues to take every step necessary to protect reproductive rights. The Congresswoman uses her real life experiences to prioritize the experiences and needs of everyday people, just like the fact that she's had abortions, the fact that she's been unhoused in her car with her 2 kids, and delivers results that her constituents feel and benefit from. In Congress, her office operates under the mantra, do the most for everyone in Missouri's 1st District and across the country, starting with those who have the greatest need. And because of that, she has reimagined what it means to be accessible to your constituents through her virtual town halls, her Congress in Your Neighborhood, and her Congress in Your Classroom programs. Congress in Your Neighborhood places staffers from her district office in 4 public libraries, 2 in the city and 2 in the county throughout the week, so that you can access the help you need at your local library. As indicated in the Congresswoman's actions within her first term, she is committed and ready to deliver for everyone in Missouri's 1st District, and it is clear that the Congresswoman is the only person fit to represent and deliver much needed results for Missouri's 1st District, especially during this time in history. And today I'm here to ask for your support and help in the work of keeping the Congresswoman in DC, because she's the effective and passionate representative that St. Louis deserves. Oh, did I time it perfectly? Look at that.
That's pretty, I mean, not that that's the only criteria for getting a vote, but that was pretty good timing. Does anyone have questions for Morgan on behalf of the Congresswoman? I'm interested to know if she's going to adjust her approach now that, 2 years isn't a long time to be in office. Are there any things she's going to try to do differently in terms of her approach to constituent services or working with other members? Do you know of any adjustments to the way she will function?
Yeah, I mean, so unfortunately, there is quite a degree of separation between the campaign and the congressional side for ethics purposes. But I will say that the Congresswoman actually does work very well with the members in the House, including the ones across the aisle. That's part of how she's been able to deliver so much money for Missouri. A lot of that was working with even our Republican Senator Roy Blunt to deliver that money that Missouri needed. And I would also say too, like as far as constituent services goes, she has worked really hard within her district office to refine the process that they use to make sure that everyone is being heard and has access to caseworkers and all that, including the Congress in Your Library initiative. But if there is someone who hasn't had access to the caseworkers, Michael, I know you won't want to, but if you do want to, if you want to send them my information, I'm happy to make sure that someone gets back to them if they're having problems. They do get so many calls every day in that district office, but they are doing their best to answer and respond to everyone.
All right, Dan's got a question. Let me see if I can unmute him. Is that working? There you go.
Okay. There's some mailings that are going out from so-called Citizens for Progressive Missouri or whatever, which I understand is actually a Republican group. Well, one of the things they highlighted was Congressman Bush's vote against one of the first things to aid the Ukraine with arms. And I read the explanation on the site, and she said that she was doing that because she wanted to encourage negotiations to take place. And that I read that explanation. It started sounding like what's his name's rationalization to give up part of Czechoslovakia to Hitler because he wanted peace in our time. And it just sort of displays, and this is sort of a question, there may be a bit of naivete in the congressmen and the people who voted against that aid, thinking that somehow not providing that military aid was going to bring Vladimir Putin to the table. And that worries me, that that's sort of a kind of naivete in international relations. Please respond.
Yeah, so for the Congresswoman, one of her biggest priorities throughout all of this has always been holding Putin and his accomplices accountable, but in a way that we make sure that it doesn't impact poor working class people in Russia. That has always been at the top of her list, because that is a humanitarian response. The everyday citizens in Russia are victims of the situation as well. And of course, she is against what's happening in Ukraine. And like I said, she has voted to hold Putin and his accomplices accountable multiple times. And so I'm not sure which bill you're talking about specifically, because I know there were a few. So I'm not sure that I'd be able to get more specific than the response that you read. As far as the Congresswoman being naive, the Congresswoman has experts who are very, 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 very good at what they do, working in her congressional office, working by her side. And so I can show you that they thought through, they think through every vote, and they make decisions on how they vote with the people of St. Louis and everyday working people across the country at the top of their mind. But we can't, it's not okay we don't want to harm people. We don't want to make votes that harm people, so.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Dan. Dan, can you put your hand down so I know when it goes back up? You ask great questions. I appreciate that. Next on the list of candidates who are here running for the U.S. House, District 1 is Steve Roberts. Let me unmute you. Did I do that right? There you go. Thank
Can
you.
everybody hear me okay?
Can hear you great. Thanks for, I know you're coming in and out of meetings, and we appreciate your joining us tonight.
Yes,
You got 3 minutes.
sure, of course. Actually, and I just want to apologize for the background noise. I'm actually at a fundraiser that was hosted for me right now. But I know how important these endorsement meetings are, and how important the 28th Ward meeting is to me. So again, apologize. I stepped up and tried to find a quiet space so I could call in and personally be here with you all today. You know, as you all know, I've been a member of the ward for the last 6 years, serving 4 years in the Missouri House of Representatives, 2 of which I served as the chairman of the Black Caucus for the Missouri House and Senate. I'm currently the minority whip of the minority party. Serving in our state legislature has been one of the greatest honors of my life. And looking for a congressperson, we need someone who's able to find compromise and pass meaningful legislation. You know what, when the crisis was happening in Ukraine, that affected me in a very personal way. In law school, I worked at a clinic in downtown Los Angeles, and we were focused on helping refugees get asylum here in the US. These are folks who were abused, tortured, and very likely would have been killed or put into concentration labor camps back if we were unsuccessful in our efforts. So when I saw what was happening in Afghanistan and Ukraine, I started reviewing our statutes and found that in 1998, there was a specific appropriation created for refugee resettlement. It has been sitting there for 23 years, and guess how much has been appropriated to it? Zero. Not a single dollar had been appropriated to this program. So I spoke with the Republican budget chairman in the House and the Senate, expressed the importance of me needing $5 billion, for grants to help these folks, and they gave it to me. This will help institutions like the International Institute, Catholic Charities, other nonprofits that are focused on helping refugees be resettled and welcomed here in Missouri. Unfortunately, our Congresswoman voted against the legislation that would create an oil embargo on Russian oil and sanctions on Russian oligarchs. And to me, that is something that I just cannot understand. This is a country that is literally committing war crimes, murdering men, women, and children, and throwing their bodies into mass graves. However, she is supportive of sanctions against Israel, one of our nation's strategic allies and partnerships who we have a mutually beneficial relationship with. So I do not understand how sanctions against a country that has invaded another is inappropriate, while there is an ally who has been working with us to strengthen our position in the Middle East, that should think that they should be sanctioned. You know, in our last few weeks of our legislative session, as you can imagine, it was a very contentious one. Dr. Kelvin Adams, our superintendent for St. Louis Public Schools, reached out to me and he informed me, said, Senator Roberts, we've got an issue with our public schools and we've got lead piping surrounding them and we need $1 million. I know it's late in the budget process.
Senator
Can you help?
Roberts, your 3 minutes is up.
If I could just close
Want to finish your
very,
comment?
very briefly. I would just like to add, look, you know, I've been a member of the organization for the last 6 years. You all know me. I don't just come during elected years of election. It's always my pleasure to come and give legislative updates, and I will continue to do that as your congressman and would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there questions for Senator Roberts? I'm interested in knowing what, how you would approach constituent services differently than perhaps we were just hearing some concerns raised about the Congresswoman.
Sure, and I've made it clear to my office and staff, besides passing legislation, I believe that constituent services is some of the most important things that we can do as elected officials. And just to give you one example, during the COVID pandemic, there were a lot of folks, particularly bus drivers, who were told to apply for unemployment because we were uncertain when they would be able to start their jobs back. They started getting letters from the Department of Revenue, liens placed on their homes saying that they had inappropriately applied for these unemployment benefits when it is exactly what their supervisors told them to do. So what me and my staff did, when these folks reached out to us, we helped them draft their appeals, contacted our liaisons with the Department of Revenue. And these are folks who are getting a check from the department saying, if you don't pay this back, you're gonna owe us $10,000. And these folks didn't have that money. So our office worked together to put the petitions, to put these appeals together. So folks would not have to be, folks who applied for these unemployment benefits in good faith would be able to keep them. So constituent services is one of the most important things that we can do as an elected official. And I encourage any of you all to reach out to my office at any time. It would be my privilege to help.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Any other questions?
There's one more. We do that. Okay. Nope, that'll do it. Thank you for joining us and get back to your crowd.
Hey, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I apologize we couldn't do this in person, but thank you again. And we'd be honored to have your support in Congress. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. That is the list. I mean, we've had great representation for the House race. Moving on, our state, there's a state Senate race. Senator Carla May is running but unopposed, and State Representative for District 77, Kimberly Ann Collins, is also running unopposed. I don't see either of them here this evening, although they are often here, so I appreciate that, and I know that they would like our support. We do have a contested race for State Rep District 65, and I'll go by how names appear on the ballot, starting with Mr. Del Taylor. Let me see if I can get you unmuted. Nope, you're still muted. Is that me?
All right, how's that? Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Excellent. And thank you everyone for this opportunity. I do appreciate it. I'd like to start with something that is a little troubling. Mr. Price, you published a press release last month that said you secured about $35 million in funding for 5 projects. And if you did that, that's great. I applaud you. However, as I read your press release, only your name is mentioned. You give no credit to the individuals that wrote or submitted these budget proposals, nor the team that performed the financial analysis. I live by the ethical standard that you always give proper credit to people for the work that they did. To put your name on other people's work or to not give them credit is theft. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Del Taylor, and I am 55 years old. And in my years, I have gained wisdom from life experiences, from stories, and from discussions with my father. Tonight, I'd like to share with you one of those stories. Years ago, my buddy E and I were getting lunch. We stopped at a burger joint. We ordered some burgers, fries, soda. I gave the cashier $20. The cashier gave me back too much change. And I told the cashier, hey, you gave me too much change. And I counted back to her the overage. E and I are sitting, we're eating, and he says to me, man, Dale, I would have kept that money. It's easy for you to do the right thing because you're rich. And I challenged E. I reminded him, you know, my single mother raised me and two other brothers on welfare in a house with no running water. You see me scrapping and fighting and working hard just like you. So don't give me that. But later that night, as I'm pondering, it still didn't sit right with me. It's easy for you to do the right thing because you're rich. These words puzzled me. Is it hard to do the right thing if you're poor? Well, I consider myself working class. Is it easy to do the wrong thing if you're poor? I just couldn't figure this thing out. So I asked my father. I told him what he said, and he said, no, son, you got it wrong. It's the other way around. It is because of your integrity that you have succeeded. Yes, you've gotten admitted to some great schools, but you would not have graduated if you were lying, cheating on exams, or taking credit for your classmates' work. You work for Deloitte Consulting and Ernst & Young. Do you think those companies would send you around the world representing their names, interacting with their clients if they didn't trust you, or if they thought you were a cheat, or if they thought you were taking credit for other people's work? My father said, Dale, your success grows from your integrity, and anyone that meets you can tell that. You're a man of integrity. You're a man of your word. Ladies and gentlemen, I am running for the Missouri House of Representatives. I've been doing a lot of door-to-door. I've been meeting people. And if you haven't met me yet, please, I invite you to meet me. Usually after this meeting, I'm at the Enterprise at Eclipse, but tonight, maybe I'll be at Prime. I'm going to close here, and it is important to me. And I do ask for your support. I ask for your vote, and I ask for your endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you, Del. Does anyone have questions for Mr. Taylor? I'm interested in like where you're just in. Actually, there's a Ms. Gray. Why don't you jump in? Can you unmute yourself? Just kind of disappeared. I just wanted to, I don't see where she went, but 1, 2, 3, what are your top 3 legislative priorities without going into detail?
Number 1, protecting Medicaid expansion, making sure that everyone gets the health care and the mental health care that they need. Number 2, Missouri is getting $9 billion in federal infrastructure dollars. I'm a chemical engineer. I build water treatment systems. I think we need more engineers in the House of Representatives. And number 3, education. I had to walk to high school 3 miles every day, 3 miles to school and 3 miles home. Education is very, very near and dear to my heart. So I will do everything I can to fight for, make sure that education is available to everyone.
Thank you. Is there one more question or? Thank you. That's great. Appreciate you being here. And now the incumbent, Representative Wiley Price. Mike, are you able to unmute him? I'm trying to
find him.
Where'd he go?
There he is.
Representative Price, are you there?
He's there. He has to unmute.
Yeah. If
Oh, he's calling. He's coming in on
All
he's
right.
in the room. He's joining.
All of our candidates are moving from place to place, so we understand.
All right, I'll try to work off my phone here. Looks like my laptop just froze up on me.
All right. Welcome.
Hello, yet again. Oh, it looks like I'm
There you
back.
are. Now he's muted. All right, Wiley, I'm going to start you over again.
Okay.
I know technical difficulties are a reality, so please go ahead and start. You have 3 minutes.
Awesome. I'm Representative Wiley Price. I've had this position for about 4 years now. When I came into the House, Missouri was one of 12 states that had no form of early voting of any kind. And I feel that voting is obviously the heart of democracy. Everybody should be able to vote. It's an inalienable right. The problem that I was seeing growing up was that a lot of people in my neighborhood, on certain pockets of the neighborhood, weren't able to get to the polls when they were open. So I kind of took that as my flag to carry. So as I came into the House, I went for automatic registration, same-day registration, no excuse absentee balloting, as well as early voting. Right out the gate, it was a combination of luck and COVID happening and me being on the elections committee and going into that conference committee. We were able to bring home mail-in balloting. This year, we were able to bring home early voting in person, 2 week early with an ID. That was negotiated in the conversations about voter ID. Voter ID could have been a lot more egregious, but it was kind of dampered down in negotiations. So anyway, with that being said, they used some of my legislation in early voting to negotiate that. So that was a win for the Ds. We killed voter ID our first 2 years. This year, it was just, they kind of jammed it down our throat, but we were able to frame it up to where we think that it'll be challenged when it gets to the courts, when it's signed August 28th. We've had some major wins in what we've been able to kill in the first 4 years. Obviously, voter ID has been trying to pop its real early or ugly head for the last 4 years. We've been able to stomp that down. In regards to no excuse absentee balloting, we were able to merge kind of both bills of early voting and absentee voting and make it in person without an ID and no excuse 2 weeks early. So we kind of got a double bonus there. And as mentioned very awkwardly earlier, I was able to bring home 35 million this year, about 18 million in ARPA funds, about 2.5 million in our after school program we've created for our third grade literature program. Our kids are reading at a very, very low rate on a national scale. So this reading program hopefully is a shot in the arm for that. That's pretty much it. I think I should note it within 3 minutes.
Yep, you did. No, that's great. You got a lot in. Questions for Representative Price? Oh, there we go. See, I'm interested to know what would be your top priorities moving into, having a new opportunity to rejoin caucus. What would be your, top 2 priorities?
Nothing changes. Nothing changes. We're still trying to get all of the voting done. We still want no excuse absentee balloting. We still want automatic registration. We still want, I'm going for 3 weeks early voting, not in person, not with an ID. I'd still like to have some form of mail-in balloting as well. So nothing changes. We're going to also push for the decriminalization and legalization and expungement of marijuana reform. We think that's going to be a huge shot in the arm for workforce. So, I mean, like I said, nothing changes. We'll still have the Bill of Rights for the homeless. Very practical bills. That's my lane. Very, very practical bills for everyday life.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
If there's anyone, another reminder to our members, if you haven't signed in the chat, please do so. We're keeping our attendance records. There is a question from Gray. She keeps fading in and out. Are you there?
I sent you my question. I don't know if it came through.
Let's see, this St. Louis City candidates, that one seem to care more about the 1 to 3% that commit violent crime. What about the 97%? Is that the question?
Yes.
I didn't say anything about crime, but I think I spoke to the other 97% because if you're in prison, you can't vote. So I think that kind of take care of the 97%. And as far as people that are in jail who are pending, I might want to do something for them in regards to voting. But the 97%, I mean, again, we're in a state where we really can't participate fully in the democracy if we're pinned to a 12 to 14 hour time period in which we have to get this done. For most of us, that's not a big deal. We can wake up, get to the polls, get it done, continue on with our day. But there is a large portion of our society that doesn't live that way, does work 12-hour days, does use public transportation, and they shouldn't be deprived of their participation in democracy because the state of Missouri can't figure out when we need to have early voting. And to be honest, as I always say, it's a fail-safe for the county clerks, because instead of having 10 million people come in on Tuesday, you have 5 million people come in on Tuesday because the other 5 came in 2 weeks early to cast their vote.
All right. Thank you, Representative Price. Appreciate you being here with us again. And I had just skipped over Representative Kimberly Ann Collins representing the 77th District, and then she signed into our meeting. Never misses a meeting if she can help it. So I appreciate that. Representative Collins, would you like to say a few words, please?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry I got lost in a moment canvassing.
That's always a pleasure.
Thank you all for having me. I am State Representative Kimberly Ann Collins. I wholeheartedly and proudly represent the entire 77th District of the City of St. Louis. I tend to leap outside of my legislative district boundaries because everything that we do on the state level is not limited to just the residents who live within the 77th District, but residents outside of the district. I am unopposed, so I'm happy about that too, but the work still continues. Some of the proudest moments I'm really happy for, we finally got the urban farm tax credits done, which was my House Bill 1919. Then it formed, we smashed it into House Bill 1720, which is a various amount of provisions that steer towards agriculture, economic opportunities. And so I think I've explained my House Bill 1919 is just tax credits for the sole purpose of food production. I also was teaching people how, you all know I do those prison pop-ups, and I'm still doing prison pop-ups even though we're out of session. But many of the guys that are incarcerated were really excited about the urban farms bill because we know everybody's not serving life without parole. A good amount is, but everybody's not. So those individuals that are looking to come home, get their hands onto something good for society, urban farms is really cool because they have a restorative justice garden in every correctional facility. And it teaches those guys how to grow food. And then that food is then shipped to local area food banks. So that's really cool. That bill is done. And then, of course, I pushed and pushed and pushed. We had a good momentum going on with our criminal justice reform legislation, our judiciary legislation, and our prison reform legislation. At the last minute, Republicans decided to throw on an amendment about police dogs, giving police dogs the same amount of authority as being a law enforcement officer. So they tried to labelize police dogs as law enforcement animals. So that killed Senate Bill 834. So we'll come back again, try again next time. We had a lot of really good provisions: restitution, good time credit. We had the DLC oversight, which we pushed, and I'm still holding DLC accountable. We had Blair's Law on there. It was a lot of really good provisions, but sometimes one bad amendment can kill a good bill at the last minute. So if I had to choose my 3 top priorities without going too deep, because I know you're going to ask that, Ms. Ann, of course, I'm always going to ride or die for our unhoused residents. Actually, Senator Carla May and I killed an amendment that they were trying to tack on at the last minute on House Bill 1606, and I believe it was Senate Bill 724. They were trying to give unhoused residents misdemeanors, misdemeanor C misdemeanor for sleeping on state property. And you all know I got state property in my district, and I know it's against the law to sleep on state property, but I'd rather have you sleep on state property and get your hands onto something that you ain't supposed to be doing. So it was a lot of bad measures within that amendment. We killed that, so I'm proud about that. Yusuf, who is I believe Yusuf is a 28 Ward resident. He's the director for human services. He was totally against that amendment, so we were chatting back and forth, got that killed. But if I had to choose, I'm gonna stop. You all want me to stop talking. So if I had to choose, it would be homelessness, of course.
So go ahead.
Okay, fighting for unhoused residents is a must, and still continuing on with the prison reform, holding DOC accountable, as well as I found my niche in fighting for animal legislation. So I've been receiving a bunch of emails about the fight that we put on this year for animal rights. So I do send out weekly 77 district newsletters. If you all want to get signed on, you can. I send them out every week. Every Friday, they hit the email boxes. So thank you for having me, and I am available for questions.
Thank you. And I think because you're running unopposed, and we do have a couple of other speakers we want to hear from, I'm going to skip the questions for you, if that's okay. If you want to share, I know you've got your newsletter. If people want to sign on for that for more information or to get in touch, please do. Thank you for joining us this evening, Representative Collins.
Thank you.
We actually have a speaker who popped on later, who's going to be representing candidate Trudy Bush Valentine in the U.S. Senate race. So I wanted to give her an opportunity. I understand Jordan Sanders is on the line. Mike, can you unmute Jordan?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for joining us. You've got
Thank you for having me.
3 minutes, and then we'll have a opportunity for a question or two.
Perfect. Wonderful. Well, I apologize that I'm so late here. We were double booked this evening. Trudy would love to be on this call herself, but she's in Kansas City. I'm not sure how many of you have had the opportunity to meet her. She joined pretty late in the race, and we are desperate to get in touch with as many voters across the state as we can. I'll tell you a little bit about Trudy. Trudy is a proud nurse, an EMT. She has her EMT license, and also a mother of 6 children. She has led really a life of service, and she is looking forward to bringing that sense to the U.S. Senate. She has a couple of priorities that I think are really important that set her apart. And she's really focusing a lot on healthcare, especially mental health. About 23 months ago, I think it's been now, she lost one of her children to an opioid overdose. And I think we can all agree that's a very important topic here in our state of Missouri. And that's something she's really looking forward to fighting in the U.S. Senate. If anybody has any questions about Trudy, I'd love to answer them if I can.
Okay. You have another minute and a half if you want to add some more information. Are there any direct questions?
We'd love to ideally get Trudy on here another time. And I apologize. I think Mike and I may have had some miscommunication on dates. So if there is another meeting or another opportunity, we could get her face to face with you all. That would be ideal for our campaign. We'd love to have some FaceTime, and she'd love to meet with you all.
Well, we have our endorsement vote on Tuesday, but if you want to share your or the campaign's any video or website
absolutely.
or anything like that, we can we can add that to the chat.
That'd be great. Why don't I go ahead and put the website in there now?
Okay.
And then I'll drop my email if that's appropriate.
Sure.
And anybody that has any questions or comments, please reach out to me. Again, I'm sorry we missed most of the opportunity to speak this evening, but I'm so glad we at least got to listen in for a little while.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question? All right. Skipping back down the ballot, Mavis Thompson was here representing herself, as license collector. Let me see if I can get you unmuted. Ms. Thompson, are you there?
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Go ahead and start. You got your 3 minutes.
All right. First of all, I haven't had an opportunity to congratulate Alderman Michael Gross, and I want to congratulate him. And thank you, 28th Ward. As you know, I'm a non-voting paid dues member of the 28th Ward and try to get over there as much as I can. And so it's just from the very beginning, we started out with trying to do innovative things in the license collector's office. As you know, we have the different, we were the first ones to do all of our informational pamphlets in different languages. And we're the only one that does one in Braille. And also we looked at the payment system. And so we have different, we introduced different methods of payment. We just recently signed on to the Pay It. And so that's going to enhance the payment process for folks. The other things that we've done is prior to the city and the state actually going to $15 an hour, we already went to $15 an hour. As you know, the license collector's office is a fee revenue generating office. We don't receive any money from the city. We actually give money to the city. And so right now I'm looking at the figures that they gave me today because our fiscal year ended on May 31st. We don't have all of them in, but our allocations that we give, as you know, because we're a county office in a city, not within a county, we are based these records and things on state statute. And the state statute allows us to keep a certain percentage of each license type. There are about 92 different license types. And what we do is this money is anywhere from 0.5% all the way up to 4%. But most of it is allocated. And in our pamphlet and online, you will see that the state has delegated where the money should go. And so with that being said, pre-COVID, we were giving about $59 to $60 million to the city of St. Louis, as well as the other state statutory mandated organizations, such as public schools, public libraries, MSD, hotel, motel goes to convention and tourism, things like that, entities like that. And currently we are down probably right at $30 to $40 million after COVID with our allocations that are revenue that's coming in. Our pre-COVID budget in the office was about $2.1 million, which we're proud to say that 85% of our budget goes to salaries. Our current budget is right now down to 1.5 million again because of COVID. The Airbnb, we negotiated an agreement with Airbnb, and it created a brand new revenue source for the city of St. Louis that was never before had. And so we've given 2.5 million to the city from Airbnb money, and about 2 million to convention and tourism because it's considered a hotel motel.
Okay, Ms. Thompson, your time is
yes.
up.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there questions for Mavis Thompson? She has come to a couple of our meetings in person this year, which is wonderful. Appreciate that. And she does pay her dues. No questions. If you want to finish up your thought there, please take another minute. Or
yeah, I guess one of the greatest
seconds.
things that we've done is that you can now file online. And so we're really excited. It took us a long time. You know, we work in City Hall behind on technology. We hope that some of the monies that come in, the federal monies, that we can improve our technology. And so again, to enhance the services that we do there. But those are some of the things that we do in the license collector's office. We've also thought out of the box. Folks can come to the Rotunda. Again, pre-COVID, we would probably try to do it again. Businesses can come and sell or promote their wares right there in the Rotunda. Because we have a restaurant, we couldn't do food. So we have an annual food truck festival. And we'll probably do another one because we had one during COVID and everybody was just so happy to get outside and mingle. And so just those are some of the things that we do. We're really happy to stand on a record of providing good government. And
Thank you.
again, I don't know if this is the time to ask for your endorsement, but I would relish your endorsement to continue on being your public servant leader and the license collector.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thompson. This is exactly the time to ask for our endorsement. So that's very appropriate. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you very much.
And our final candidate, and our collector of revenue, Gregory Daly, was at our last meeting in person and asked for our endorsement. I don't see him tonight, but he did make that ask at our last in-person meeting. But our next candidate, Michael Butler, is running for re-election as Recorder of Deeds. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ann. Thanks so much.
Let's go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So don't holding up the rear here, and we'll be very quick. I just want to thank the 28th Ward for your continued support. 4 years ago, I was endorsed by the 28th Ward to take on in a race, an incumbent in a race for a Recorder of Deeds. And in 4 years, we have been proud to, we won that race, won the 28th Ward and won that race total. I've been proud to bring back results for the city in the past 4 years. In 4 years, we've totally transformed the office. The first thing we did was we improved online services in the office. You can now, as promised, receive your marriage license, birth certificate, death certificate, fully online within our office. We're very proud about that. Because of that, we've increased revenue in the office by $500,000 annually for the Recorder of Deeds office. When I first took office back in 2019, revenue was about $2.6 million a year, and our office was spending about almost $2.8 million. We now bring in about $3.1 million per year, and still held steady at about $2.9 million budget. We're when I first took office, we were taking $300,000 from the city. Now we're giving an average of $200,000 or more back to the city, and I'm very proud of that. And that's from the endorsement that many of you have given us, and the support that many of the folks on the call has given the Recorder of Deeds office. Lastly, we've improved our online services, we've improved our revenue, and we're also improving our in-person services in the office. We were very blessed to be already improving online services prior to COVID. And now that COVID has spurred us to change the way we're doing business within our in-person customers in our office. We've changed to where we're developing a Recorder's Assistance Center. We're putting all of our what we call our retail customers into one renovated room that's going to look like what we like to say a T-Mobile store. Something that's 2022-ish and not 1950s-ish, or you maybe say the 1800s for when City Hall was built. 1914, when around when City Hall was built. So we're very excited about the renovations we're going through our office right now, using an extra tax that was put on services for technology increases within our office from 30 years ago. And that I'm proud to announce that renovation will be done by the end of the year. And we are also proud to announce that we will be naming that center after the longest serving recorder in the state, which is Sharon Quigley Carpenter, our own former city Recorder of Deeds. We hope to do that sometime in the fall, and to honor her longtime service to the city, but most importantly, show a different way that we can provide services to the city citizens. And show that government can be just as efficient as any private sector office. With that, I'm asking for your endorsement again. I am unopposed as Recorder of Deeds this year in the Democratic primary, but myself, Mavis Thompson, and Greg Daly all have Republican candidates in the general election. So we hope to come back and ask your endorsement, and as well as your huge support to make sure to push us over the top for the general election, and that we keep St. Louis City Democrat moving forward.
Thank you, Michael Butler. Appreciate it. Anybody have any questions? Can you put on your state party hat? Can we please win a statewide race?
I can for a second. Yes, we absolutely can, and this is a good year to do it. The Republicans are just off the chain. They're not in line with Missouri. And quite frankly, a lot of Republican leaders are focusing on trying to woo a New York former president, former billionaire, and Donald Trump, and not Missouri voters. And our Democrats are focused on the DNC. Kevin spoke to DNC chairman about it a month ago. He's made it clear that in Missouri, we have kind of a Doug Jones situation going on here, and there's a good possibility that the Republicans are gonna nominate a crazy, and we're gonna be able to squeeze in a U.S. Senate win in 2022. I'm here to tell you though, 2024 is a very good year for us, and we're focused on building infrastructure and building a strategy and messaging that's going to win us not just in 22 but beyond.
I hope so. I hope you're right. Dan's got his hands up. One hand up. Fake hand. There you go.
Okay. Lower hand. I believe that, and if I need to get the history of property ownership in the city, I have had to drive downtown and go into the office and ask for assistance, and actually then get, I guess it's on microfilm, actually look at the documents and then pay to have those copied. Is it possible? Is that something you're looking into, where somebody could online look at a given property and see what the chain of ownership has been over the years? You have all the deeds, of course, on your records. Is there any attempt to digitize them and make them available so I could look up a chain of property ownership without having to come downtown?
Yes, sir. Dan, that's the last piece of the plan to modernize City Hall and modernize our office. That one is, as known from the day one, a lot easier said than done. And we've gone through, we started with the Secretary of State's office, who promised to digitize about 1 million of our documents. The COVID kind of slowed that down. They have digitized about 100,000 of our documents. We've messed with a couple of vendors, and we looked at contracts from Ancestry.com to there was just a little known vendor called like birthcertificate.org or something like that. And we finally settled on one vendor that's gonna digitize all our records and not let us lose revenue on those. Many of those vendors want to do it for free and then not give us any revenue back. And I wasn't going to give away our gold for free. So we're in the process of digitizing records with the state and with the private vendor. We hope in about 1.5 years, we'll be able to roll out online services for archives.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, we have got 5 minutes. So I think our candidates have done a terrific job being respectful of the time limits we've given them and the questions we've asked. And for those who are still here, I really, again, appreciate your offering your service and raising important questions, even for those who won't win, to keep those who do win honest and bringing up important points. And for those who will win, thank you so much for your service in the future. Mike, Gail, do you have any comments, reports that you want to offer? There's a lot going on in our city today and just doesn't feel good.
Yeah, well, and I know I said a little bit at the start of the hour, but I mean, it's a fluid situation, so I even know more now. For the meetings, just I think a couple weeks ago, the full board meetings were supposed to go back in person. Well, they were in person for a few weeks. And then last week, some members of the board had COVID. Now the mayor just got tested with COVID yesterday. So the board is going to be meeting on Zoom again tomorrow. And that's been decided, but I know that there's still, some other people are going to plan on showing up live and maybe joining the Zoom, from the chambers because they want to be there in person. And I will also say, and I don't know any more details than this, and I don't know if there's any, I don't know if this is a permanent thing, and maybe it's just rumors, and I apologize if it's premature, but I did just get a message that at least for tomorrow, President Reed is not going to be presiding over the Board of Aldermen meeting. So, I don't know if he's going to address that for something going further, obviously, but at least for tomorrow, he's not going to be presiding. And Joe Volmer would be the second would be the alderman that's got the most seniority, that would step in and be the interim president from here on out. So it's still a fluid situation. It's not great. It makes all of us look bad. I understand there's, you know, a lot of distrust towards city government already, and things like this don't help. But that's what's going on with city government. We're back to Zoom, but you know, some folks find that easier to watch and follow along with. So pay attention to that. I'm a little annoyed, just as a little update on me, is I finally, for about a month, I think I was on the cusp of getting my committee assignments. And I spoke to people in the president's office last night, and I was supposed to get my email today officially appointing me to my committees. That didn't happen today, and I didn't want to send an email being like, hey, what's going on with this? But hopefully hopefully there doesn't seem that won't fall through the cracks or get delayed longer than it needs to. But if anybody has any questions about what, you know, city business, I know it's been a long meeting already, and I want to also thank all the candidates and also give a shout out. I know in the chat we thanked Dan, but I thought Dan did a really great job tonight managing everybody on this forum. So does anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
Kimberly Ann has a question. Her hand's up.
Yes, ma'am. Representative Collins?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, my question is for committee woman. Had y'all selected a committee man yet to fill your spot?
No, we have not. I'm looking for candidates so I can interview them. So that was going to be my comment for tonight. If you know anybody that's interested in being committee man for the 28th Ward, I'm here to listen and choose at this point.
In 2022, in the city Democrats, does the committee man have to be a man?
Yes.
Honestly, I think that there would be people that would be supportive of challenging that.
I really would like to challenge it. I'll talk to Carla on Saturday. We do have a meeting on this coming Saturday, but I've never really agreed with having a committee woman and committee man.
I mean, I assume that was created to bring positions in for women at some point. But
yeah, at some point it was, but you know.
Yeah.
I
Mike,
think we need to change that.
Mike, do you have that date for that Kings Highway conversation?
Yes, that's a very good. We are having a community meeting about Kings Highway. There was a traffic study done to kind of like, right now it's just kind of a high level design from Martin Luther King to West Pine. And the consultants and all the older people that the project touches, planning the Bureau of Public Service and planning a design. They're all going to be at a meeting June 22nd. We're going to be at the Link Auditorium around 6 o'clock. And you know, we'll get those details out, but Link Auditorium there at like Taylor and Westminster. But it's going to be a meeting just about Kings Highway safety and the traffic study and the redesign plan that the city commissioned.
Great.
Can't wait to come to that. I want to come to that, Mike, because we've been trying to figure out this whole Natural Bridge thing, and although it's owned by MoDOT, we like the design of it is poor, and so I've been having conversations with MoDOT and trying to bring city residents in to how can we even try to at least mimic what they have on Kings Highway on the, you know, the beautification with the greenery and everything. So I look forward to coming to the Link to hear about the initiatives that y'all have planned for Kings Highway, because we want something better on Natural Bridge.
Yeah, and through this process, I mean, I've really learned a ton about, you know, how these road projects get done and get funded. So, you know, if you want to chat about it too, but definitely come to the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I know, you know, since they put the concrete down on Natural Bridge, it did stop deaths from happening, but I still think that we deserve better than what they laid out, and we shouldn't just accept what they laid out, which is just concrete. Sometimes you can barely see the concrete and you forget that it's there. And so, yeah, I look forward to that. I'm glad you said something about it today.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's after 9 o'clock, so if folks need to peel off, you can, or we can stay on and chat for a few minutes. What's the date of that meeting, Mike?
June 22nd.
June 22nd. All right.
Yeah, Miss Ann, you know we like to stay on after the meeting and chit chat.
Well, I said to Mike in a text, Mike and I text each other, throughout the month, lose track of our